There.
Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
I know it's the end of your day and the end-ish of a busy couple weeks, so I'll try to be quick and get through everything, but make sure you guys have everything you need to be um, successful for the grant. I am dropping the slides in the chat. I'll do that a few times as people come in. Um, they are going to be very useful for you because you will want to click on links and have access to all of the things in the slides that I'm going to share with you. So we'll wait just a couple minutes for people. We're here a little bit early. You guys got logged in early. Good job. So we'll share it a couple more times. People have been joining in. So we do have a lot to go over, and we are going to take up probably the whole hour just because it is just a lot to go over. And I know some of you might feel like, oh, this is going to be a lot of information at the end of this, and you're going to feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed, but please don't hesitate to reach out to me to answer questions and to consult with you about any of the details. Today is really just like kicking off our year together, kind of talking about the grant in general, and then just a bunch of details about what the school year is going to entail. I'll be sharing our calendar, and I'll be sharing a lot of really good stuff for you. I tend to be the kind of person that wants all this information at the beginning of the year, and just to have it like a whole calendar of the meetings and a whole calendar of the competitions, just to have it for my sanity. But if you tend to be just like a month at a time kind of person, we're going to do that too. So every month we're going to have a meeting, and we'll just kind of talk about the month and the things that are going on. So you won't have to think so far ahead and be planning so far ahead. But for those of you that are like me and want to have the plan for the whole year, we're going to have that today. Okay. So I am going to share my screen. And for those of you that I have not met yet, I am Shannon McKenzie, and I am the support coordinator for, oh, my share button is in a weird spot. I'm the support coordinator for the Maryland DOL Teacher Pathway Grant. And you, if you haven't yet, you're going to probably get a lot of emails from me. Okay. Sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty here.
Yes,
My box is disappearing.
Hey, Beth, no worries.
There we go. Okay, now I can see you guys. Okay, so can you guys see the slide deck on the screen? Just give me, okay, perfect. So we are going to get started right away just because and make sure that we're on track with the time. Okay, so today's the grant kickoff meeting. It's basically like the year kickoff, but we're going to go over some of the grant details. Some of you may not have attended the trainings that we offer where we go over the curriculum, when we go over the chapter details. So this may be a little bit of a think of this as like a larger view of the whole thing. Okay, so there will be detailed questions that you have, maybe prompted from some of this information if you haven't attended those trainings yet, thinking of Frederick County and Hartford County in particular. And that's okay. We will cover those things in a little bit more depth when we have our little training sessions. Okay, so welcome. This can be a little bit confusing. This is technically year 2 of the grant. It is most of your guys's first year in the grant. So it gets a little confusing when we start saying year 1 and year 2, and you guys are like, wait, what? Year 2? I wasn't here last year. But it is technically year 2 of a 3-year grant. And we did have year 1 last year, and that involved 12 schools as part of the grant. This year, we're bumping up to 35 schools. So you guys are part of the 35. And just kind of some highlights from last year, we were able to register 178 students in the chapters. We gave out 8 scholarships to attend nationals at the registration for nationals. We had curriculum orientations and chapter sessions. We helped start preliminary chapters. Most everybody, even from last year, it was a foundational year. So we were really kind of just setting up the procedures for new chapters because the way that the grant worked last year, it was a little bit tricky because we got funding. And then in January, when our presidency changed, all the funding stopped. So we kind of had to stop in the middle and then start back up again. So it was kind of stop and go. So you guys are kind of lucky that you didn't have to be a part of that year because now we're going to be all set and super organized. So this year, one of the big things that we're going to do is we are going to start a paid internship sort of apprenticeship process with you guys. And we have $500 for 270 students that can participate in this sort of paid internship. So we're really excited about that. So communication. I did put this in your guys' newsletter that I sent to you guys. And I just want to make sure, sometimes people don't read those newsletters, and that's okay. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the communications that you're going to receive. And it might be a little bit confusing, but as soon as we go through this and you kind of get this in your thought process, it'll be easier for you. The big thing is anything grant related, okay? Grant related stuff is going to always come from me, right? So it's smckenzie@educatorsrising.org. That is all going to be from me, okay? So anything that has to do with the grant, teacher stipends, internship, apprenticeship opportunities, meeting, RSVPs, all of that stuff is going to be coming from my email, okay? And those things are super important to keep track of because, usually there's some criteria with the grant. And I want to make sure that you guys are, attending the meetings and really have all the information that you need. So, so just pay attention to those emails from me. Okay, I would say that those are the utmost importance as far as anything to do with Educators Rising, is reading those grant emails and really staying on top of that. Those of you that just came in, I just dropped the slides in the chat again for you. So you have a copy of those to follow along. So then, because you're going to be part of Educators Rising Maryland, which is the larger organization, you will be getting Maryland Educators Rising emails. And those will come from Libby. And those will come from either of these 2 addresses. Usually it's Educators Rising Maryland, Ed Rising MD at Towson. That's usually the email that comes through from Libby Weinkoop. She is our state coordinator for Maryland. So she is in charge of all of Ed Rising in Maryland. And I'm really only focused on you guys, the 35 schools that are my buddies, like my part of the grant, okay? She has everybody. So she'll roll out things about, she'll give you information about the state conference and the registration for that. And she'll have her own teacher leader meetings every other month. It's important for you to attend those as well, just like Maryland, Maryland top down sort of information, competitions, all that kind of stuff will come from Libby. Now, the good thing is that Libby and I work really, really closely together. So almost everything that she would be sharing, I would also share or keep you up to speed on. But just make sure that you are kind of staying abreast of everything that's happening in Maryland by reading Libby's emails as well, okay? And there is a specific Maryland competitions email now. And that competition email will be where when you do competitions, you'll send your pre-scored items for your students to that email. And those of you that are TAM teachers, now not all of you are TAM teachers, some of you are ECE, some of you are chapter only, not pathway at all, and some of you are CDA schools. But if you are a TAM school, you actually also have a connection with Libby Weinkoop at Towson because she is in charge of the TAM curriculum. So she often will send TAM curriculum emails to you. Now that has nothing to do with the grant. TAM curriculum emails will come from Libby. Those are important related to TAM, like if anything's changing with the curriculum or she's having any TAM trainings, all that stuff. I am not at all really involved with that. I'm not involved with the TAM curriculum or the CDA curriculum specifically. I may be able to help you in some way, with a quick question, but for the most part, any TAM curriculum emails will come from Libby, and obviously not from me. And then because you are teacher leaders of a national organization, you will receive emails from the national organization. And those will usually come through at info@educatorsrising.org. Now, out of all of these emails, I would say that those are the least important. That sounds horrible because I work for Educators Rising, right? But they're usually big picture items, right? It's talking about nationals, or it's talking about a seminar that they're having. And any of that information that I find to be super helpful for Maryland, I will share with you again in our meeting. So you won't really need to pay such close attention to those unless you just really feel like it. They send out, some great articles and some different things, but those are really primarily going to be larger scale, national scale sort of emails. Okay, so those are not going to be specific to the grant or specific to Maryland really in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so I hope that helps a little bit. Just make sure that you sort of really make sure you're paying attention to emails from me and that they're not going to spam and that you are responding. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to talk about. Now we're going to move right into dates because dates is, for me, dates are the most important thing all the time. So I've created a calendar just for us, and it's the Maryland DOL Teacher Pathway Grant calendar. I'm going to click on this just to show you. We're not going to go through it word for, like date for date, because you have access to it and you'll be able to do that. But essentially what I've done is I've created a calendar view of each month with the things going on for the year, right? The things that are already scheduled for the year. And I'll keep adding to this as things come up. And the second page is more of a list format of each of these. And it says like meetings and trainings and competitions and, the things you need to add to your schedule. So when you look at this, to me, this makes it seem far less overwhelming because there's so many open days, right? So like when you think about a competition or you think about my PLC, when you look at this, you're like, okay. When you look at this, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many things we have to do in the month of September. But really, it's really not that many things. And most of the things are sort of optional, right? So competitions, you want to know when the competitions are, and you need to encourage your students to do competitions and all of that, but they're not like you have to do a competition every month, or some of the times the competitions offer twice in the same month, so you're really only going to pick one date to do that. Your students will pick one date to do that. So that is really good information for the whole school year, and that is linked in this slide deck for you to have access to. Okay, but we're going to go through some of the things in the calendar I really want to talk about this month. So when I say, if you're not a super long-term planner and you just want to have these meetings, come to these meetings and say, Shannon's going to tell me like what I need to pay attention to this month, that's what this is. Okay, these are the things we're going to pay attention to in the next few weeks. Okay, so the first thing I want to know is if you are attending the Tuesday meeting for the CTSO training that MSDE is putting on, just put in the chat, yes, you're attending, or no, you're not attending, just so I have some idea of who is going and who's not able to go. If you cannot go, it's okay. We do have Libby's going to have a makeup session, and you can see it right here in the corner of my slide on September 11th at 3:30. And this is the Zoom link for that. If you cannot go to the CTSO training, she's going to do exactly what we're doing in the CTSO training at this meeting on the 11th, okay? And you don't have to register for that. You just kind of show up at 3:30 and there's the link. What this is an MSDE provided training, and they get all of the CTSOs in the state together, and then they have like the organizers to break out into afternoon sessions. And they kind of update. Last year, it was really very nice. They updated us on like CTE happenings and things going on and different things that are happening with CTSOs in the morning, and then we had our little breakout sessions in the afternoon. So just let me know if you're going to that, just because I would love to make sure I see you. You will see me in the afternoon session because Libby and I are both going to be doing the breakout for Ed Rising. So if you can't make it, just kind of make a note about this September 11th. You're going to get a follow-up email from me today with some action items, and that's included in the action items. So the very next thing that I want to kind of make you aware of is there's a competition in September that's coming up very quickly. And that is the Educators Rising Moment competition. We're going to be hosting it in English and in Spanish. The competition itself will be, they will be competing virtually through Zoom. And what they need to do for this competition is essentially they are going to, let me skip to the next slide. They're going to just talk about why they have chosen to become an educator, why they would like to be a teacher. So it's a 3-minute little speech. They can have little index cards. The description of the competition is here on this slide that you can click to find out see the rubric and all of the description. Essentially, they would just talk about why they chose it. Maybe they had a great experience as a child, maybe had a learning disability, and they had a teacher that really understood, or one that didn't really understand them, and that's why they chose to do it. Maybe they have a special needs sibling and they decided they wanted to be a special educator. They all have these different reasons. We host this one at the beginning of the year because it doesn't require like a research paper or a presentation or anything like that. It really just requires a little 3-minute chat. They can have little note cards. It's just like a little speech about why they chose to be an educator. So encourage you to encourage your students to sign up for that. It's the first one. And it's really a very, very easy one. You can do this one as, an assignment in your classes, in your pathway classes too, to kind of just gauge why some people want to be educators or what they are thinking the reasoning behind they want to be educators would be. So you can do it as an assignment and then pick the top 3 to send them to state, whatever. There is pre-score requirements for all of the competitions this year, and the competition pre-scoring date for this one is a week before the competition. So it's the 15th. So that's real soon. Like if you think about it, it's really soon that they have to turn in their pre-scored items. Basically, they just have to turn in their little speech.
Shannon, is that one in the calendar or is that something somewhere else that you shared?
It's on the calendar.
Like you have to click somewhere to get that? I just briefly looked and I missed it.
To get what? To get
To that screen, the one that's on your screen currently. About the competition one.
This is in the slide deck for this today. Did you get the slide deck for today?
I only saw the calendar. That's the only thing that was in the chat when I saw it.
Let me see. Oh, let me see. This calendar? Or this is the...
All I see is the calendar in there. Like I don't see that page at all unless I'm just missing it.
Did I share the slide decks with you guys? Like, have you been able to open the slide deck? Anybody? Yes? Huh.
All right, I can see it now. Well, I can see the dates to know, and then
yeah. So
I see that now, but before I could only see the calendar.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, because I think you're probably clicking on the box to open the calendar.
No, like I don't know. It popped up as the calendar. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so now you can see it. So
yeah, I can see it.
In the middle is the link to sign up for the competitions, and then we'll get to the master calendar of competitions in a second. But the next thing I want to point out here are 2 other dates. So the Educators Rising Moment is on here. Competition training is a virtual training that our state officers do on October 5th at 5 p.m. That training is something that you really should have your students attend. Okay, so it really gives, obviously it's after Ed Rising Moment, but it really gives them an in-depth idea of all of the sort of criteria, where they can get support for competitions, how they submit things, and everything you really need to know about competition. And if you are new to Ed Rising and you don't know a lot about competitions, I would even suggest that you attend, because as a teacher leader, it's good for you to know the answers to these questions when your students ask you. So I would, definitely make sure that you mark that date as something that you attend and that you have your kids attend if you can. Again, it's virtual, and there'll be more information about the link for that. And then we're going to have in-person competitions this year. So the in-person competitions are going to be held in 2 different places. We're going to do on the other side of the bridge, right? So Eastern Shore is Rochester County at Pocomoke High School is going to be the first one that we have in-person competitions at. And that's going to be on October 25th. And then we're also going to have some in PG County in-person ones. So that is something that MSDE has asked Libby and advising to do for a number of years. And so this year she's going to start to do some in-person competitions. It actually is really good prep for nationals to have in-person competitions because it is so different when they go to nationals and they actually stand in front of judges and compete. It's a little different than doing it virtually on Zoom. So it's a good idea to do one of the in-person ones. That Ed Rising Moment also, just so you know, we do it in English and in Spanish. So if you have Spanish speaking students, they can do the entire thing in Spanish and get scored in Spanish and everything. And I would encourage as many Spanish speaking students to do it in Spanish and to compete in Spanish for the ones that are Spanish, because those ones, not that I'm trying to like cheat the system or anything, but those ones tend to have less competitors at nationals. And so they have a better chance, at least because Spanish just opened up last year. So at least, this past year, there were fewer people that competed in Spanish. So it's just like a higher chance of you placing at nationals because there's fewer competitors in that one. And then speaking about competitions, we need judges this year. So for the virtual trainings and for in-person, if you are interested in being a judge, please let me know. You can drop it in the chat or you can send me an email. I'll probably be sending out, request emails later, especially if you speak Spanish or you know anybody that speaks Spanish, because we do need judges that, that speak English and Spanish. So the training is all provided. You don't have to have any experience with competitions or even been Ed Rising. We will train you and we will get you up to speed. And I would also encourage you to do it for another reason. It really does give you great information about the competitions. I worked this past year in nationals in the competition. I managed a room for the competitions, and there is just so much that you learn about the competitions and about how the students compete and what's required from just being a part of that whole process, that it would just make you a stronger teacher leader and really give you good insight to competitions and what they expect. So, just a little side note that would really help you and help you prepare your students. Yes, college students, previous TAM students absolutely can be judges. I actually just recruited 5 of my previous students to do a panel for us on 926 that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I messaged them in between my sessions today and got them on board for something. So yeah, absolutely. They would be perfect people to do it. So Sally, yes, absolutely. And then the next PLC date is October 2nd, 11 to 12 or 3 to 4. You RSVP to the one that you can attend. And then another meeting date that's going to happen in October. Libby only has her meetings. She has her meetings virtually, but she only does them like every other month. And remember, she's in charge of all of Maryland. So she's going to have a teacher leader meeting, not just with grant people, like you guys are all my grant peeps. These are going to be all the teacher leaders in Maryland. And so that's going to be on October 9th at 3 o'clock on Zoom. Okay. So those are, some important meeting dates. And then now we're going to get to, so if you can't make the meeting, Angela, you just let me know, like, instead of our RSVP, just like send me an email, let me know, and then I'll know to send you a recording of the video.
Yeah,
I just realized that it's
a preschool open house that day, so I'm not available.
Some people also have a Jewish holiday and the schools are closed that day. So there's just been like various different things coming up that day, and that's okay. We are going to be talking about some important stuff at that meeting. We're going to be talking about member registration, and hopefully we're going to be talking about the all about competitions. So it's going to be, a good one. So we'll just make sure that everybody gets information. And I might actually have like an alternate date just so we have a chance. If so many people can't make it, just so we have a chance to have face-to-face time and you don't have to just do a recording. But we'll see how many people can and can't make it. Okay, so the very first event that we have coming up that is kind of a crunch for you guys is the Fall Leadership Conference. And this is the first year that we're having this leadership conference, and I am so excited about it, you guys. I've been working with Chris Vick at UMBC, and if anybody knows him, you know that he is amazing. He's super like engaging. He is also he's just like a bright light. Like he just like fills the room. It's just amazing. It's so cool. He works for UMBC and he is going to be hosting our leadership conference. He's got college students that are going to be there that are going to inspire our leaders. And he's got a college visit. They're going to feed us like breakfast and lunch. So essentially what this is for and who this is for, are these are your leaders that you're identifying right now. So as teacher leaders, you are going to identify 2 or 3, 4 or 5, whatever it is that you can manage, students that are going to be your leaders for your chapter, your school-based chapter, right? Your president, your vice president, your secretary, whatever you want to call them. They can just be 5 general people or four people, and you just call them the leadership team. They don't have to have titles if you don't want to do that. You can certainly do that. You don't have to have a vote. You don't have to do it all. It doesn't have to be so official. You just want to get, 3 or 4 kids that you think are going to be great leaders, help recruit, kind of help keep things on track. And I guarantee you right now, you're thinking of who they are in your head. You know those kids, you know who they are. So those guys are going to attend along with you this leadership conference, and they will have this opportunity of a lifetime, which I'm excited about. Is they're going to learn from college students, they're going to learn from Chris Vick, they're going to learn from our state officers, and then the teacher leaders will have their own breakout sessions with us as well, so that we can help you plan your year and all of that stuff. So mark this on your calendar, make sure that you're sharing this, make sure you register, and that you get your kids registered whenever you've just got those guys situated, like figured out. Okay, so make sure you get them registered for this. It is going to be at UMBC from 8:30 to 1. So just be aware of that. Oh gosh, I know what happened. I'm opening the.
Shannon, quick question.
Yeah.
That is the transportation covered in the grant or no for that?
So no, unfortunately, so transportation is the bane of my existence, and I think most everybody's existence. Whenever anybody writes a grant, I don't know who writes these grants. Whenever anybody writes a grant, they're like, yeah, let's do all these things. Let's do all this stuff. But then they don't ever make sure the kids can get there. So I was not a part of the writing of the grant, but I certainly would have planned for some of that transportation to be involved. Most likely, I am working with some of your guys's higher level powers that be, your CTE people. If you have questions about transportation, you probably know who those people are, like in Baltimore City. Well, we actually have Audrey on the call for Harford County, but then we have like Maria Blanco in the city and just different people, like your CTE coordinator. They should be the one to help you with that. And then hopefully, that will work itself out. The good thing about this, and I don't know if this is the case all in every county, but in our county, we were allowed as teachers and chaperones to transport our kids if we had the special permission that said, teacher transport or something. Since it's only 2 or 3 kids or however many kids, you don't need a whole bus necessarily. So that could be a potential solution to that as well, if that's allowed in your county. That's something you have to find out from your school or your district. But in my county, I was able to get around that sometimes because I could transport them to, like, my state officers to an event or something like that, as long as their parents filled out the form that said I was the designated chaperone, and I would be transporting them. So yeah, transportation is not provided, unfortunately. I wish I had like a CTE Head Rising helicopter or something. I could just go around and just pick up everybody, get everybody there. It would save on traffic. It would save on so many things. So the next are the folks who organize the grant aware of the needs to include transportation. Yeah. So we have had extensive conversations with the grant organizers about that. The people that write these grants, and unfortunately, are not the people with their boots on the ground, and they don't think about it. And also they don't think about the kids that they don't drive, or that they maybe don't have access to a car, or maybe they're in, just so many factors that they don't think about. So that's a whole tangent that I could get on. But if I'm involved with the extension of this grant, which is what I hope happens, then I will definitely work my best to make this grant revised a little bit to include some of that, because that is something that we need to consider. So the next opportunity we have is something I'm calling the Student to Student series, and I'm going to be hosting these sort of student to student panels. And this first one is going to be sort of a recruitment conversation, more like what you can get, how you can benefit from Educators Rising, right? So I'm going to have the state officers, and I'm going to have my previous students that are in college, Ed Rising alum, to come and speak to any of the students that you have, any of the students that you guys have access to come to this, hear about how it helped them with their college, helped them with their career, helped them in the education programs that they're in, helped them with leadership, you know, all the various ways that Educators Rising has helped them in some capacity. So kind of, they would think about it more like this stage, this very first month, is really kind of talking about all of Ed Rising, like what's so great about it? Why do you want to do it? That sort of thing. Their experience at National Conference, their experience at Maryland State Conference, all of those things. So this is going to be the first one that we're hosting, and hopefully it'll go great. I'm going to have some different topics later on throughout the year, but this will be the first one. It's on September 26th at 3 o'clock. And again, it's student to student. So the students just register for it, and then they show up at 3, and they will get to talk to these alum, college kids, and the current state officers, okay? And then that's it for the upcoming dates and things to like think about, okay? And then mandatory training sessions. If you've read the emails that I sent you, you know that you have to attend a curriculum orientation, that you also have to attend a chapter building session with me. Both of those, many of you have already done. If you haven't done them, you do need to do them. There are going to be a few more as we go throughout this grant year. Most of them I'm going to just intertwine into our PLCs, right? So you want to do extra days. It'll just be like in October, we're going to talk about membership registration and the teacher pathway internships. And then in January, we're going to talk about industry recognized credentials and just get those things covered in our PLCs. So another reason why it's really important for you to attend those PLCs, because they are going to be mandatory topics. They're things to do with the times that I'll be pushing out the details about those sort of things to help you with that process. So just be aware of that. Oh, this shared resource folder. I am working on something for us to have like a shared resource site, a site where we can, I can put all of these resources, right, and organize it, have it for you guys to click on and download and whatnot. Educators Rising as a whole is working on this system called Learn World, which is kind of like a Canvas or a Google Classroom or a Schoology or a Blackboard. It's called Learn World, very similar to another LMS. But we're not ready to roll that out to you guys. So in the meantime, I have just created a shared Google folder so that you can just, you know, if you need to see the flyer for the student to student, or you need to see the whatever, it'll be there, okay? So that's the shared Google folder for you guys. And then we're just going to briefly talk about the requirements for the stipend. Because you do get $500 for each semester. So $500 for semester 1 and $500 for semester 2 for completing the grant requirements as a teacher leader. And really what that means is, in an overall sense, like attending the PLCs and, you know, watching if you can't attend the session, then you watch the video about it and, you know, you get back to me with questions and that kind of stuff. And then there's going to be some other things. So like those are the examples, specific examples of things, like attended the October PLC. Those of you that were part of year 1 received like a Google form, or it was actually a Microsoft form, but a form, and you just check the boxes of all the things that you did, and that's kind of just proof that you did all of the grant requirements. So you're going to kind of go down this list and check off these things in December and say, I did these things for first semester, blah, 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 check them off. And then that will authorize us to be able to pay you that $500, right? So we have to have some some form of proof that you did all that stuff. So that's kind of an idea about that. Student learning opportunities, like your responsibility as the teacher leader and as part of this grant, is to offer our students like as many of the opportunities that Educators Rising is giving us, right? So obviously chapter meetings, getting them registered by November 1st, having them attend those, you know, student to student sessions and the fall leadership conference and the state conference and national conference and doing competitions, like all of the things that you normally would do as a teacher leader anyway. So, this is just some breakout of what that looks like. And this is the specifics of what that looks like. We're gonna, it's a requirement anyway for TAM and for the CDA, but to have them take the Para-Pro or to get their CDA credential, all of that kind of stuff. We want to encourage all of those things, have them join the Honor Society, apply for scholarships, whatever things that we have as opportunities for them. And then as the sort of research data collection piece of this, there isn't a whole lot that we are asking you to do, but some of the things would be like making sure obviously you fill out your participation agreement that we have at the beginning of the year, which most of you have done. And Harford County and Frederick County, you guys have not done that just yet because we're still working out the kinks on that. But we're really close. We're really close on both of them. So you'll be getting that soon. You're going to share just make sure you have meeting dates set up and share that with me in your program of work. You give us feedback on the curriculum pieces that you do use, fill out your stipend paperwork on time. And then just like anecdotal things, like letting me know how many kids attend your meetings. You're going to have a meeting, like a sign-in sheet, and just kind of really it's more for like helping you purposes. Like if you only have 2 people attending a meeting, what can we do to recruit more people, and what can we do to get more attendance and more activity or more engagement? So it's going to be more like anecdotal things, like to help out with your chapter and stuff. Nothing really, you're not going to really have to track or give us too much data on your students. It's more like how many people took the parapro or passed the parapro, or how many people are going to go to school for education and stuff. Not really like where the kids live or what gender they are or what any of that kind of stuff. Not personal information. It's more related to like helping us help the kids. Like how can we, reach the kids and make sure that they're getting what they need. So as part of the process, you do need to do a couple forms. The first one is this one. This is my form, and this is the teacher leader participation form. And I just want everyone to fill it out. Some people are from year 1 and some people are from year 2. So I want a new like contact information. Make sure I have your right email, make sure I have your right, phone number, and all of the stuff I need to know about you, just like your principal's name, your principal's email, make sure that didn't change, all of that stuff. So if you fill this out for me, that would be great. And then the next form, and you don't have to, like, you can do it right now, but you don't have to do it right now because it's going to be later I'll give you all the action items at the end. This one is actually related to your stipend. So this year, since we have so many teachers as part of the grant, and we're actually on top of things this year, we are having you guys do your onboarding stipend teacher like paperwork before the end of the semester. So what we want you to do is you fill out the stipend information sheet. It's just like giving them your, like, I don't even know. It goes to our finance office. I'm not even sure, but giving them your information. They will send you the information to complete your W-9. Again, this is going directly to the finance office who's going to pay you, not like to me. I don't get this information. So they'll have you fill out a W-9, and then they'll have you set up into Melio payments, like a system where you will get paid through that. So this information needs to be done at the beginning, like now, soon, so that you are in the system and ready to go in December when we authorize the payment. You will get paid quicker, and everything will be all set up, okay? And then this stipend requirement completion form, this is that one that I referred to earlier with like the check boxes, and our year one participants already did this, but basically you're going to go through the boxes and say, I went to the September 4th meeting and the October 2nd meeting, and I encourage my kids to go to a competition, whatever it is. You're going to check off the boxes that say you did the requirements, and then you'll get this from me closer to that time when it's due, but basically by December 5th, you're going to fill that out for first semester, and then May 1st. And then within that month, you will get your stipend sent to you. Okay. This is our schedule for our PLC meetings. So this is really, these are like, the basic criteria for the grant is attending these meetings. It's my one time to make sure I get you guys all into a room and I give you as much information as possible and answer your questions, all of that. So make sure you have these scheduled on your calendar. If you cannot make a meeting, you can just send me an email saying I can't make October 2nd is already a problem for some people, so I get it. Just respond to me, and then we will talk about how we get that covered, okay? And each of these meetings will eventually be filled in with like a topic. So like October is going to be student registration and the internship, right? And then we're going to kind of keep filling in the topics. And on that same note, since I do only get to see you kind of once a month in this sort of, vision, with this sort of view of you, of in this sort of realm or whatever, there are opportunities for you to meet with me other times. Like certainly we can have coaching calls. I have office hours, one-on-one time that I can talk to you. There's an opportunity for me to come to your schools, to visit you, to visit your students, whatever you think would be beneficial. So you just let me know. And I'm here to support you in whatever way, however that looks for you. Okay. Some of you are close to me and some of you are far away. So we would just have to organize it. You couldn't say to me, hey, can you come tomorrow? Unless you're in Frederick County or Montgomery County, it's probably not going to work. But I live in Frederick County and I'm very close to Montgomery County. So those sites I could probably do something, definitely do some site visits and stuff. If you're on the Eastern Shore, I would love to come see you. So sign me up for some site visits. I'm happy to do that too. So any way that I can support you, I'm here to do that. Okay. So here is some specifics about what we're going to be doing with students this year. I know I'm kind of cruising through this. Hopefully I still have you guys all on board with me. You're not zoned out yet. But this is important because as part of the grant, you are going to be using some of the curriculum as a resource, right? So you're going to be able to, whether you're a pathway, like a TAM pathway or a CDA pathway, or you're a chapter only. This monthly lesson focus is really primarily for the chapter only chapters where you can use one of the lessons that we are providing through the curriculum as sort of a focus for your meeting. And it can kind of lead the conversation or discussion and really have like a lesson or a learning for your students in that chapter meeting. So you just want to make sure that you're using those resources that we're offering you. I have something that I'm so excited to share with you a little bit later in this slide deck that's going to help you so much with the curriculum resource. I think you're going to be really thrilled. But this is just kind of idea. You want to just make sure you offer them some Ed Rising, curriculum. And it's going to be really great for you too, because TAM and CDA, they're perfectly fine and wonderful, but the Ed Rising curriculum is amazing. And so it's super expensive. It's like, I don't even know, $16,000 a year, and you're getting it for free. So you might as well utilize it as much as you can just to kind of check it out and see what it's like while you have it. So you're going to want to prepare them for competitions and support them with competitions. Do check-ins with them with competitions. Kind of keep the dates in mind because they sneak up on us pretty fast. And high school kids tend to wait till the last minute to do things sometimes, we know. So just kind of stay on top of them with the competitions. You want to encourage them to attend the conferences. That's you and them coming to the state conference and national conference, and then, planning monthly fundraisers so that we can help supplement some of the costs of the transportation, especially for nationals, because nationals this year is going to be on the West Coast in Portland, Oregon, which is my old stomping grounds because I grew up in Seattle. So the Pacific Northwest, I'm excited to go there for the conference and bring our kids out there. You want to encourage them to visit colleges and have education focused college visits and campuses where they actually get to see, meet education professors and see those parts of the college and that sort of thing. So this is really important. We have obviously UMBC and Towson already planned for them in the different things, but we're going to have more options for them throughout the grant. Opportunities for them to meet other peers. So the Fall Leadership Conference are going to be meeting with college students at the UMBC campus. There's going to be opportunities for the discussion panel to have peer mentorship and college student conversations at the state conference. So just anytime that we can have, either college level education majors talking to our high school students or even recent graduates, all of those sorts of interactions with our students are going to help them with this decision to become teachers. Okay. And then, of course, industry recognized credential. This is something that is mandatory in the pathway process, but even as a chapter program, we have the opportunity to offer you guys, the Parapro for your chapters, for those guys to take the Parapro as well. So, just to kind of increase the opportunities for those students that maybe aren't at a school that doesn't have a pathway, maybe that doesn't even exist at that school, or they can't take the pathway because of their, weird schedule or something like that, and they're just part of a chapter. They could still have some of the same opportunities to take the Parapro as the kids that are in a pathway. So this is a work in progress. I'm still going through the process of getting all of this refined and approved through Educators Rising, but there is going to be a very specific portion of this grant work that is an internship where the students will get paid $500 per semester to do 30 hours of work. So this is kind of an overview of what it is. Essentially, they're going to have some assignments that are attached to this particular internship. Most of the pathways in Maryland have an internship portion that's already, part of the pathway, like TAM, right? And part of the CDA. They have to get so many hours to earn the credit and so many hours to earn that credential. This would be separate from that, or in coordination with that. So the hours could still count. Like, you don't have to have 30 extra hours. They could count with their like 200 hours or whatever hours that they have to do with the other internship, but they do have to do additional work. Some of the things might be very similar to what they're already doing in your class, but they will have a class, sort of a class that they sign into and submit their journal and that sort of things. It's just for the grant, saying, that they completed these 5 things as part of their internship that helped them prepare to be teachers, and they were paid, for this. So what will happen is there will be an application process for this, and they will have to just, complete the hours and then sort of these like other things that are part of their portfolio to be able to be qualified for the $500. But they can do it both semesters. So like if they're seniors and they want to do it their fall semester and their spring semester, they can, get $1,000, which is great. Or they can just do one semester. We are hoping to roll this out. That's why I want to get that out in October, so we can at least try to get it rolling for this semester, right, for the fall. And then similar to that, we are going to have, this year we're changing it a little bit, but we're going to have national conference scholarships. So we're going to have, and more information will come about this, we'll have students apply for getting their registration paid for nationals. So some of that will depend on, and this will come later, because some of that will depend on them competing in the Maryland conference, and if they qualify to go to nationals to compete. Students can always go to the conference. At nationals, you don't have to qualify to go to the conference itself, but for the most part, we usually just take students that are competing at nationals to that. We, for whatever reason, I don't know, I guess we get to go to the conference and compete when we do it that way. But at any rate, there's going to be an application process for it this year, so that we can, make sure that we are, divvying up the money in like a fair way. So that is going to be, more information will come to that, but like it be probably around March, but we'll give you more information earlier than that, but that's about when we'll have the application process open. And then as a chapter leader, these are kind of your goals for your year. And I just really want to reiterate this. If you've been to the chapter training, you've seen this already, but I just want to make sure that kind of, okay, you're at the beginning of the school year, this is what you need to do. These are the things you need to do to have a successful chapter. So vision and goal 1 would be like chapter recruitment and development, and then community service and fundraising, and then competitions and conferences. So the first one is like chapter recruitment and development. Obviously, you're going to be setting up your chapter, setting up your meeting dates, all of that stuff. This is clickable links to resources specifically for recruitment, okay? And this was not created when I did your guys' Maryland chapter training last year. So this is new stuff that you can use this year for that. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So click on those things and use those. Now, community service and fundraising, same thing. Community service is a big part of what Ed Rising is all about, the community and making sure that we are offering these opportunities for students, for our high school students to be working out in the community with other children and students and families. So it's a good idea for you to make that a priority of your chapter, have one every month or something. And then fundraising becomes a very essential part of this, because you're going to need to, pay for extra things that are not part of the grant, like airfare to Oregon and all of those kind of things. So we encourage you to do as much fundraising as possible. And we all know what the status of budgets are in our counties across the state and really across the country. But budgetary needs in schools are really just horrible. So, you know, even for chapter membership and stuff, if you have a strong fundraising philosophy, then you would be able to pay for even their memberships if that money goes away in your school system, or if the grant goes away, you'll still have an opportunity to be able to pay for those things for your students. So it's a really good idea to focus on that fundraising. And here is some resources for community service. You click on these and they will give you specific ideas for each month for community service ideas. I'm going to open one up and just show you what I mean. So make it a little bit bigger, because it's wee little bit right now. But essentially, I just gave you some ideas here, right? So October, host a trunk or treat event in your school parking lot, volunteer at an after school club for local middle school, elementary to do art, nature, jogging, whatever, something like that. So these are like ideas of things that you could do in your club. And to be honest, these are the things that the kids think are so fun, right? Our high school students, this is what they like live for. If you did a trunk or treat thing and had those guys organize that, they would be in heaven. They would love that. So just keep that in mind, that those community service events are super engaging for the high schoolers as well. And then same thing for fundraising. Next page is fundraising. These are actually specific, tangible, usable things that you can use for fundraising. So there's like a donations calendar thing. There's a bottle drive donate. So here's one, this Apple one I like. So I'm going to open this just to show you. This is like an Apple fundraiser, Apple for, for teachers or whatever. But essentially for nationals or something, they could have like their friends and family donate pieces of the apple, right? And once they have their whole apple filled in, then they have some significant amount of money to go to nationals with or whatever. So there's things like this that are like tangible things that they can use and that you can use in your classroom to do. There's another one like that. That's the state donation one, which I also like. I'm just going to click on this one really quick. And you could have people pick states and do like an amount. So like I would pick, like if one of the students brought this to me, I could pick Washington State because that's where I'm from and I'm going to represent Washington and give them $20 or something, right? So they can kind of do something like that. They can have their parents share it on Facebook. So friends from Virginia can fill in a Virginia box and donate money and that sort of thing. So those are some tangible, things that you can use for that. And then for competitions and conferences, the dates are there for the Maryland State Conference. You just pick one or the other. It's offered on the 30th and the 1st. So kind of save that date. And then of course, there's the national conference dates for Oregon. Make sure you save those dates as well, because we want as many of us to attend as possible. And then Honor Society, want to make sure that we get our kids to sign up for the Educators Rising Honor Society. That is my next slide. They do get a cord. That's like the first thing they ask. Do I get a cord? Do I get a cord for graduation? They do get a cord for graduation. Juniors just get a certificate. It's just for juniors and seniors. Juniors get a certificate and seniors get a certificate and a cord. So I would encourage your students. My students have all every year, the last few years, have done the Honor Society, and they've been so proud to wear their cord. It has a little Educators Rising emblem on it. It's very fun for them to wear that at graduation, and they're one of just a few that have that. So that's always really special. These are the conferences, the big conferences that we have: the state conference and the national conference each year. And then competitions. This is a resource sheet, clickable links for resources for competitions. The cheat sheet I love. It kind of gives you just an overview of every competition, like kind of what it looks like. I'm going to click on it real quick just to show you guys. So you can see here, it has the competition, and then it has just a little bit about what it is. It's like a 5 to 10 minute presentation, awards for every competition. And I find that to be very useful just as a general overview. You can get the details of every competition, but that's a nice one for general overview. And then competition resources here. And then this is the Maryland competition schedule for the whole year, okay? So this is good for you to have, to print out, to keep handy. This is going to keep you on track with when those competitions are, where they are, because we do have some in-person ones. We're going to have in-person in Worcester County and then also in Prince George's County this year. So in-person competitions, Those blue links are the links to the specific criteria for every competition. So this is like this is like everything to do with the Maryland competition. So this is also linked on the slide deck for you and really good information. And then the competition training I mentioned to you is October 5th. Make sure you get your kids to that and that you attend that if you need more information about competitions. Now, this is just something that we talked about at our chapter building thing, and it's really important for you guys to kind of revisit this. This is the checklist for how you're building your chapter. Many of you have never had a chapter before, or maybe if you do have a chapter, this is going to help you kind of like, okay, where do I go? What do I do? This is a checklist of everything you should do. So like the very first thing you should do, and especially right now because we have that leadership conference, is identify your leaders, right? 2 or 3 kids, 4 or 5 kids, however many you think you need, leaders for your chapter, for your local chapter. So for your blank high school chapter, who are the leaders? Who's the president? Who's the vice president? Who's the secretary? And again, you don't have to have titles like that. You can just be, you 4 people are the leadership team. You're going to be the leaders for the team. And then they'll just be called the leadership team. You need to identify those guys because you are going to empower them to be in charge of this chapter. Okay. So do that. Have your first meeting. The first meeting is what I call an interest meeting. And the interest meeting is where you talk just about Educators Rising and everything you're going to do and all of the stuff. And then you're going to go from there. I've given you slide decks that you can copy and use that are linked here. And then sign-up sheets that you can use, interest meeting slides again, leadership job descriptions for all of the jobs that you could possibly have, a survey for leadership, which is like something you could send out to say who wants to be a leader. And then you have, national dates to know, the meeting schedule. It's a blank meeting schedule where you put in all of the dates for the year. There's a program of work that you're going to need to work out. If you're coming to the CTSO conference next week on Tuesday, we're going to do that together at that event. And if you can't come to that, we can do it on the 11th with Libby. So all of these things are things that you can use to build your chapter. Your first meetings, your actual meeting member slides there you can use. All of these things are for you to use or lose is what I like to say. So like if you're starting from scratch and you just want to use my slides and just make them your own, go for it. If you're like, I hate her slides, I want to make my own, that's fine too. I'm not offended by it. I'm just trying to give you something that you can start with because, some people don't even know where to start sometimes. So it's okay if you hate my slides, totally not offended by that. I'm just giving them to you to try out. So that is all about the chapter, and you can kind of click through that to kind of remind yourself of what you need to do. This is so exciting. This is the part I absolutely love to share with you guys. My morning session, they were thrilled about this. So what I did this summer was I created a crosswalk of TAM objectives, not really objectives, but TAM topics and CDA topics and the Ed Rising curriculum and mesh them up to make something that will be so easy for you to use as your resource. So like if you're trying to plan your TAM lessons or whatever. So let's just look at TAM course number 2. You see that on the screen, cross out TAM course number 2, teaching as a profession, right? You click on that and you open it up. And what you will see is you will see all of the TAM topics and themes that you have to teach right on the left-hand side. And then in the 2 columns on the right-hand side, the green and the sort of peaches color, orangish peaches color, pinkish color, whatever. These are the Ed Rising resources that match your TAM topics. So, for example, the green column are all of the Ed Rising resources that you have for free as a teacher leader. It's not part of the curriculum. You don't have to pay $16,000 a year to have. So those are things that you can use forever and ever and ever. Not when you're, even when the grant's over. Those are things you can use forever for that. The peach ones are things that you have access to now because you have the curriculum, right? So go for it. Use these things. These topics all cross-reference your TAM topics. And I did the same thing for CDA. So if you look at this list, you go down, CDA has the same thing. And what this includes podcasts, it includes Kaplan magazine editions, it includes competitions, like how do the competitions align with your topics? So you could use them as assignments in your classroom. And then all of the lessons on the right are lessons that are in EdRising. If you click right on these links, it'll take you to that lesson in the EdRising curriculum. So you don't have to like find your way and get the unit 2 and unit 5. It goes right to the lesson. You do have to log into your EdRising portal, but once you log into your portal, it will take you right to the lesson. So you don't have to like go in and find unit 1. They're all linked right here. So this crosswalk, I hope you guys will find so useful. And I'm so excited to share that with you because that was my big summer passion project was to make that for you. So that is going to be a good way for you guys to use the curriculum. And then what they did this summer was they updated the curriculum. So if you forgot how to log in, this is how you log in. You can always search for this email address to get your login information. She should have been the one to send you your login information. But if not, it's your email, like your school email, whatever email. And then your password is password1234. You can see it at the bottom there in the red. So you have this to kind of help you. But then, so that's where you would log in right there. That's what it looks like. But this is the new thing. So the curriculum changed to 25 to 28 curriculum, and this changed just this summer. So now that's what you're going to be looking for. These boxes that say curriculum and implementation, click on the curriculum, and then there's like year 1 lessons and year 2 lessons. Again, if you're using the crosswalk though, you don't really have to know this very well because you're going to have the crosswalk to bring you right to the link. But if you want to just, kind of browse the lessons and stuff, you can certainly do that here. And I just wanted to like update you and show you. Scope and sequence is all still there. So you just click on these different things. These slides here are there to show you how you maneuver this new looking curriculum. It's very much the same, but it looks a little different. Like there's the guided notes tab and then the PowerPoint tab. And that's kind of what it looks like. So, whew, just barely made it in by 4 o'clock. But these are your action items, okay? So this is the slide deck that has, and I'm sending you an email. This is the slide that has all of the things that you guys need to do, okay? So like in the next few days, I want you to check off the things in this list. I'm going to send you an email as soon as we're done with this that has this restated with the links so you don't have to remember it all. But you're going to do the PLC sign-in sheet. It's just a sign-in sheet saying you came to this meeting with me. And then you're going to have to fill out your participant form, your stipend form, just like things like that. And then the other things were like, making sure you sign up for the leadership conference and stuff like that. Okay. So it's kind of a list of action items that you should really, that is the focus of this meeting today. Like what things you need to do and then in the next, month, like what is the things you need to do to start with? The really big thing you need to do to start with is to, get your student leaders figured out because that we need to get them registered for that October event. I don't want anybody to miss out on that. And then this is the last slide. Hopefully you guys have this stuff handy. You can call or text me on my cell phone. I promise it's completely fine to send me a quick text. I, obviously answer email, but anytime you feel like you have a quick question, you can also text me. That's fine. Some people have been already even using that. So it certainly is, quick and easy way to get me. So just save this information. I am here to support you to make sure your chapter is thriving and doing, everything you guys need to do. So I am happy to, get your questions and help you in any way that I can. So that was a lot of information. And I know I yapped and I talk really fast, so I apologize. But does anybody have any questions? How are you feeling about all of this? Anybody? Numb. So people are a little overwhelmed. My morning session, they were like, there's a lot of information. Don't panic. It's manageable. We'll do it in little bites. I just like to share, this is like the whole year overview, right? I want to share as much information now just so you kind of have it. But we'll definitely have a little more conversations about this. What does this say? Yeah. Lots to do at the beginning of the year. There is a lot for you to do in every part of your life. I totally understand. I am sending you an email that has an overview of all of these action items because I know that like verbally, I can't even, the end of the day, verbally, somebody telling me all these things I need to do is just not sinking in. email will have everything listed there for you to just easily follow and click on the link. So yes, that's going to come. Plus this slide deck will be there along with the checklist, the little checklist thing that helps you with your chapter starting, like what you need to do for your chapter to start up with. Okay. The crosswalk. Yeah, I'm glad you like that. The crosswalk is going to be just like deal breaker. It's going to be so easy for you guys to use, to be able to use some of that curriculum. And I want you to use as much as you can while it's free. So certainly take advantage of that. Any other questions or comments? Let me stop sharing my screen. You guys can see things bigger. I appreciate you guys coming on today, this afternoon. See this. So you have to kind of figure out how you do the Ed Rising account. Our school, I set up an Ed Rising account through our business office so that it just kind of went into a separate little pool. So if we have like a donut sale or a bake sale or whatever, something like that, we would just deposit it with our business manager, and then it would go into our account in the school. So it kind of has to work with however your school system works. So Michelle, hopefully that answers that. But you just kind of talk to your business manager or someone at your school and figure out how you would do that. Set up that account to have it kind of all pooled together. I rather have like a one location for all of the money, and then you just have it, keep track of it. I kept track on a spreadsheet, like different things that the kids did and participated in. Ours were mostly group oriented things. Like we did things where everybody sort of participated so that all the money kind of went to the whole program, and not to specific people. So fundraising we'll talk about more too, just ideas people have. That's always a big topic at the national level, and even at the Maryland level. You'll get some more information at Libby's meetings from that too. They always have great ideas about how to fundraise and stuff like that. Any other questions? If not, you guys are free to hop off. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for joining me today, and I will send an email to you shortly with more information.
Bye, Shannon.
Bye, Nikki. Bye, guys.
Bye, thank you.
Of course. Thank you.